So Dom is actually my 6th pregnancy. Because I was quite high risk at the time, having not actually carried through a pregnancy, we had a few extra early ultrasounds and whatnot, and we actually had it diagnosed by the time I was at 11 weeks gestation. We had a planned cesarean because he did have an omphalocele major or exomphalus major. Not every single parent sees their baby for the first time and sees them intubated, but obviously he's here and happy. And we've handled it all pretty okay, I'd like to think.
Dominic was born with a giant omphalocele. It's a birth defect with the abdominal wall, meaning that part of his abdominal contents were on the outside. That happened while he was still inside mum, and it's developed that way. And when he came out to the world, we knew that that would be the case, and we were hoping that we'd be able to get everything back inside where it should be pretty easily. That wasn't the case for Dominic, unfortunately, and he just needed a bit more time. So we're taking a slow approach to getting everything back in, meaning that we're using a compression garment to help bring everything back into where it should be. But pushing and creating pressure internally has meant that his lungs and his heart have also been under a bit of strain if we push too fast, too hard. So he's needed a bit of help with his respiratory side of things. These kids that need help with their breathing, we really can't leave them in the intensive care unit with a breathing tube in for that time. It's just too long. They miss out on far too much. So the alternative to that is to put a tracheostomy in, which is a surgical incision that creates an opening for an airway, and a tracheostomy tube becomes that airway. And then we use a ventilator to help inflate the lungs, and then kids can be up and about and interactive with the world. And that really changed the game for Dominic. For Dominic, the discharge planning started as soon as we knew that he was getting a tracheostomy, and that's where lots of things start happening in the background. And it looks pretty seamless on the patient side and for the family, and we hope it feels that way for them. But there's a lot that goes on in the background. There's lots of different teams that need to be involved. We all start working on what will be needed to get Dominic firstly from ICU into the ward, get him out of that intensive care period of time. And from the ward, how do we get him and his family ready to leave the hospital, which is a really daunting thing.
Obviously, we needed a lot of training when it comes to the trachea. That is an artificial airway, so you know how important that is. The trachea CNC is absolutely amazing. They go above and beyond. They taught us really, really quickly, but in a sense where we were always reassured, we always had the support. If in the event of an emergency, we can, without question or second thoughts, actually go ahead and do it. Which I actually had an emergency trachea change in hospital prior to leaving for Gosford. And it wasn't until after the fact that I'd re-established having the trachea in, making sure that he was good and everything, that I actually realised that I just performed a trachea change. It was just all so fluid that it wasn't until someone else turned around and said, "You are remarkably calm for that." And then it dawned on me, like, I just did an emergency procedure.
Education and training starts with the family, and that starts when we're in the ICU, so that they can see exactly what's required for the management and care of a tracheostomy. And first, the families get really skilled up with that, but of course we need to make sure those skills are in our local hospitals as well, where Dominic may present. So both Wyong and Gosford were involved in an immersive training program, and we built a training program all about Dominic. Who is he? What are all of these conditions? What are all of the things that you might need and you might see if you meet Dominic? And we delivered that online initially over a couple of weeks to all of the paediatric staff at Gosford and Wyong. And then myself and a clinical nurse specialist, Jess, went out to Wyong and Gosford for a full week of immersive hands-on training with skill stations and labs, so that anyone who may come into contact with him at his local area had the opportunity to come and do hands-on training with tracheostomies, the sizing that he would have, the machines he will have, being able to troubleshoot all of that hands-on before he gets there was really, really important, and allowing that educational opportunity. And now that education remains in those centres, and the nurse consultants and educators continue to roll that out.
General paediatric wards don't usually look after fully ventilated patients with a tracheostomy, and Dominic also had the additional issue of a giant omphalocele. So to ask a local paediatric unit to take that type of patient on was quite significant. That initial training, so that all our staff were introduced to Dominic before he actually arrived, was crucial, and for Becky and Jess to be there to support us through that first week was I feel that was absolutely crucial as well. The parents needed to be confident that we could do the same sort of care that he had been receiving for 15 months. So, and I think that the first day they arrived, we thought the parents were going to stay with him, but they actually arrived with him and said, "Okay, we're going home tonight." So that makes me think that they were relatively confident in the process that had occurred before Dominic arrived.
Without cross collaboration between LHDs, this doesn't happen. It's that important. It just doesn't happen. We can't do this without collaboration. And as we have seen in Dominic's case, with great collaboration, we're getting amazing results. He's home, he's safe, everything's going really well. We've had amazing feedback from the local hospitals. Sydney Children's remains involved in Dominic's care, and when we do see him, he's looking amazing. He hasn't had any major problems with equipment or anything else. Little things that can go wrong with these kids that bring them back to hospital, we haven't seen any of that. And I think that's a real credit to his local teams and the effort that they've put in and the training that they continue to do. It's really, it's phenomenal. It's so exciting to see the ripple effect and the positive outcomes that we're getting at a local level for kids like Dominic.
I actually got a bit teary talking to some people because, like, I've spent every single day with them for nearly 508 days, especially down in Sydney, and the same in Gosford. I mean, I spent every single day with these people, and I don't think I would have really pulled through without their attitude, their support, their friendships. I can't commend them enough. Miss them very, very dearly, and I think I'm going to let Kyle talk now. So,
we just really like to give a big thank you to them all, and they mean so much to us. They mean a lot to Dom too. So, we probably wouldn't be where we are right now.
We can't underestimate the power of having a family together. For them, they've got their baby home for the first time. He's been in hospital for a big chunk of his early days, and for them, they finally got to take their baby boy home. And he's safe. He's got carers, and he's got a supportive environment around him with his local hospital and local resources. So if anything little happens, they are so well supported. For them, they feel safe.
I think this has just been an absolute amazing example of what can be done for a great model of care when you have that great collaboration and communication. And I can't thank Randwick and particularly Becky and Jess enough for providing that and being able to support us.
We talk about patient and family-centred care, and this model is truly patient and family focused. I'm so proud to be a part of such an amazing team, because I know none of this was done single-handedly. None of us could have done this by ourselves. This is the efforts of a lot of people. It's a huge team, from the play therapists right through to the surgeons. And there's so many people in between that really go above and beyond to make sure that this happens. And I'm just so proud to be a part of a team that does that and that cares so much and gets such great results. And I see him smile and think, yep, it was all worth it.
Wave. Yeah. You do it.
Mum.